Hola a todos, ¿cómo están el día de hoy? Espero que se encuentren muy bien. Yo feliz de estar con ustedes. Today is our second program that we have on Behind the Language. As you know, Behind the Language is a program that is dedicated to talk about all this other stuff related to the language, but not grammar or vocabulary like the other videos and programs in our channel. This will help you, or we're trying to help you with this program to get more immersed within the language. Our first episode was about Español o Castellano, and today we're going to talk about the inclusive terminology on the Spanish language. I chose this topic as many times with my students. I well, not many times, but some of them they ask me, and on the social media, definitely they ask me if I use inclusive terminology when I teach Spanish. I'm gonna try to talk about first what it means in Spanish, the inclusive terminology. As you know, this is not something that is just happening in Spanish. It's happening in every language, in English and in other language. Okay, it's a movement and it's a current that is going everywhere at the moment. However, of course, we're gonna center on Spanish. First, as you all know, and Spanish is a language where we have basically masculine and feminine. Okay, so that's started with that. And then when you start to learn the language, you realize then most of the time when you want to refer of male and female is always been taking the male form to use even as both of them, to include both of them, they will automatically, take the female form and it comes the male form. I'm gonna go to that in a minute, okay? I'm gonna go to that part in a minute. But what I try to say, what is the inclusive terminology in Spanish, is the add of e, okay? So basically like todos, todas, todes. Él, ella, ella. Chicos, chicas, chiques. Okay? So that is the discussion, that's the controversy, that's the polemic, okay, about the inclusive terminology in Spanish. Then if it should be added to the language, the e, okay, as a, to be like to refer as a mixture, or should stay just the way it is. Now, la RAE, la RAE is la Real Academia Española, RAE, R-E-A, okay? What basically it rules the language, like the mother of the language, okay? That's not my opinion, it is what it is. I like it or we like it or no. It's what it rules the language. What add new terminology, what take terminology that is not used anymore, okay? Even take letters from the alphabet, that already did, okay? So that right is what rules our language. Now people ask me, but which Spanish? Spanish from Spain? Spanish Castellano. Okay, if you're not clear about this part, watch the first video. There I explain all about Español and Castellano. Okay, so it rules the language that you speak in Spain, in Mexico, in Argentina, in Peru, everywhere. Okay, it rules, is the mother of the language. Okay, the point of view is very strong and very straightforward. Okay, so they basically say it's not necessary to add a to the language. So it's not accepting, it's not necessary, because the inclusive terminology already exists in the Spanish language. And people, but what do you mean, Maria? Exists because of el masculino genérico. Okay, now I know I've been technical and you're like, what are you talking about? Okay, the generic masculine. So exists already because if I enter into a classroom, okay, if it's 7 girls and 3 guys, okay, by saying chicos, hola chicos, I already been inclusive. And people, but no, Maria, you're not inclusive, you using the male form. But for the language, but for the, grammatically, for the language, that is already inclusive. That is already being called inclusive. So, nosotros, todos, chicos is inclusive because it include the male and the female. Of course, it's valid if you don't feel comfortable with that. And I say so many cases, especially if I see them as more girls than boys, I say like, hola chicos y chicas, okay? And you can do that. Because yeah, sometimes I feel like, oh my God, it's like what, 10 girls and one boy, and I say hola chicos, what is correct, don't get me wrong. But yeah, I can like, divide the plurals, and I can say hola chicos y chicas. Or, you can do this kind of stuff, okay? But in theory and grammatically, because of what it calls el masculino genérico, the generic masculine, that inclusive language is already exists en el español. It already exists in Spanish, okay? And RAE, la Real Academia Española, does not accept the use of as to be part as one term, as a third option to include the male and female form. Now people say, oh come on, this machista, sexist, Let's go to the roots of the language. Do not forget that in Spanish it's a Romance language then coming from Latin. Okay? In Latin, the Latin language is an endocentric language. Okay? It's an endocentric language, it's a patriarchal language that was based on a society ruled by men, by the male form. And our language, it derivates from that. I always say the language is the reflection of the society, not the other way around. Now, so you tell me that this might change? To be completely honest, I won't be surprised if we change within years. I know that the position of Raya at the moment is very strong about this, but time always have proved us wrong when we're thinking that some changes will never come and they eventually, oh my God, it happens. Why I think that? The Spanish that we're speaking nowadays is not the Spanish of Cervantes. Or the English that you speak now is not the English of Shakespeare, isn't it? So the Spanish that we speak now is not the Spanish that was spoken like what, 600 years ago? Of course not. Okay? Because the language changed, the language adapt to the society. It reflects the society that we live in. Okay? So changes could happen, of course can happen. Look what happened with all los extranjerismos, what it means like all the words that we borrow from other languages. And I'm not even gonna go with all the amount of words that we borrow from the Arabic language. I'm talking about even kind of modern times, all the words that we have borrowed from English. People ask me, how you say football in Spanish? Football. Yeah, I know it's spelled different, but it's football. And it comes from the word in English. Football. Even though we have a different spelling, that is the root. And we adapt it and we use it. And we sometimes in our text, we can even spell it in English and it's fine. I don't say that it's correct, grammatically correct, but it's fine. People understand and accept it. What with the word okay? Okay? But even me, I all the time say okay. And it's valid. Even though the spelling is different, it's valid. So the language change according to the times, according to the society that we live in. What personally, this is my personal point of view, nothing to do with RAE, nothing to do with other members of the Spanish-speaking world. I do feel in this case is more political than anything else. I do believe that every language will change. The language will change, probably even, who knows, one day it might be added, the A. But I feel in the now, this is more political than anything else. It's my perception of the whole thing. It's too soon. and it's too fast, and I feel that it's very pushy. Nothing surprised me. I do believe that when start with one language, it will go like a domino. I know in some Nordic countries, and many years ago, it's already been added like a extra mixture terminology. But sometimes I think, what would happen if I start with French or German? It's like a domino, you know. I wouldn't be surprised then it would happen with Spanish. But who knows? I'm not a witch. But I think then again, the language is the reflect of the society that we live in, not the other way around. I hope that you find this video interesting. Probably you talk, then I will talk maybe more about the el término no binario, no? The no binarian people. Basically people who don't identify with a specific gender. No, that this video is not about that. When I was talking about inclusive terminology, is the use of e to include the male and female form as combined, not just always use el masculino genérico, the generic masculine. I'm gonna go into the other part of the topic because it's still part of the topic, you know, the use what in English will be et, or like the use of people who don't feel identify as él or ella. I do believe a lot in tolerance. I do believe also in grammar. I love grammar. I love grammar. I love to teach Spanish. I do love to follow the rules. I do understand that some changes will happen, need to happen. But, you know, if you are thrown in a situation and you don't know how to call a person, the best way I always say, like, maybe just go and ask the person. But don't try to impose, don't try to make general for everyone. I do feel again that this is more political than a language thing, okay? However, you have your opinion, and I would love to know your opinion. I would love to know your suggestions for other topics, okay? Maybe more fun topics that you would like me to talk about, I don't know, Netflix or reggaeton or a movie, okay? I would love to know. I hope that you subscribe to our channel, and I really hope to keep seeing you in all our videos. Until the next video. Ciao, ciao.